Okay, a quick look at transcribing. So, first of all, choosing a transcription can be a little bit of a chicken and egg situation because until you try and transcribe something, you've no real idea of the level of difficulty. But you can get a rough idea by listening to something if it's reasonably kind of singable, or whatever. So that's hurdle number one, and but there are lots of playlists if you search on YouTube for easy jazz tunes or something like that. You'll probably find something. What I've chosen is a recording by Jimmy Raney of the standard "There Will Never Be Another You," and it is a fantastic improvisation, and it's also just a fantastic performance. The way he plays the tune right from the outset is really masterful as well. He's plays the tune, but he's also very fluent with it, so he's kind of constantly improvising all the way throughout the tune, and it's a seamless performance that goes straight from stating the theme into his improvisation, and the improvisation is very sophisticated, not necessarily on a very kind of chops kind of level, although he can really play the guitar, but it's not something that is unapproachable. It's just the depth of the invention and the connection of bits of the solo to other bits of the solo is really quite remarkable, and it's a real masterclass in how to improvise in that sense of improvisation sometimes being seen as spontaneous composition. It's very, very connected and very, very thematic, all that kind of thing, and it swings like mad as well. It's a great performance. So that's easy enough to find if you go into YouTube and search Jimmy Raney, "There Will Never Be Another You." I think it's live in Paris. It's got a very cool cover of the Eiffel Tower turning into a guitar or something like that. So the process of transcribing this, first of all, there's almost no point in transcribing this unless you're familiar with the tune, and by that I mean familiar with the harmonic structure of the tune, because he's definitely improvising on the changes. So you need to really be fluent with that progression: E flat major, D half diminished, G7, C minor, B flat minor, E flat major, E flat seventh, A flat major seventh, D flat seventh, back up to E, all that kind of stuff. So you really need to have having a chart would be good. Being able to play the changes would be good. Having some kind of picture those in your kind of oral imagination about how that works as a progression. So maybe that's something that's worth working up to as a kind of forerunner to actually transcribing the solo. Get really familiar with the harmony and the tune, obviously, as well. It's a very kind of it's a very good tune in as much as it's got a lot of melodic sequences, and the tune itself makes a lot of sense. There's a couple of nice little harmonic twists and turns, and it's also a very standard thing to play in a jam session context. So it's a great tune to get to know. There's lots of great versions of this, ranging from very straight ahead to quite modern. There's lots of contrafacts on this sequence, like John Scofield's "Not You Again," which is again a fantastic tune. Great band on that record, with Scofield, Kenny Garrett, Brad Meldau, Dave Holland, I think, and Billy Higgins on drums. And so, the vibe that everybody creates when they improvise on the sequence is very different. So, that's would be like a further study kind of thing. So it's a well known, well played tunes with lots and lots of possibilities. And I think if you if you kind of Google that or YouTube versions of it, you'll find many great versions. So the next thing to do is just to get really familiar with the particular recording that you're thinking about transcribing. So not just listen to it once, but listening to it many, many times, as many times as it takes, so you can actually sing along with the melody statement and bits of the solo. Just just so you become fluent in the kind of language of that solo, and then kind of set about transcribing it. And what you need to do is just kind of take it phrase by phrase, and don't, if you're going to transcribe the whole solo, then obviously listen to the whole thing, discover how many choruses that is, make a note of that, but then don't be overwhelmed by that as a task. You're going to do one phrase at a time, which will eventually lead to one chorus, and then you're going to start another chorus, another one. So it may be a huge task over time, but it's broken down into little chunks, and those chunks are broken into individual phrases. So in terms of transcribing this and writing it out, I would recommend good old-fashioned manuscript paper and a pencil. This is actually a pencil with a rubber in the end. So if I make mistakes, which I inevitably will, then I can come back and correct them. And with your transcribing, again, it's a process. You may not get this 100% right. First off, it's something that you get better at. And an interesting thing that I've done over time is to revisit transcriptions occasionally and see what you missed, what if there's the odd note that you couldn't quite hear that you can improve on, or phrasing and all that kind of thing. So again, although you're writing it down, it's still not set in stone. It's still a fluid process that you can improve on. So simply taking your manuscript paper, and this is a guitar transcription. So the guitar is a transposing instrument, as you know. Sounds an octave lower than written. And the interesting thing about this particular improvisation is he plays generally quite high up on the guitar, probably more so than a lot of other players who play more in the kind of the kind of 7th to 12th fret or 5th to 12th fret kind of area play, a more kind of mellow kind of register that maybe fits with people's voices or whatever. But he kind of he plays relatively high, which is quite interesting. It also means that the lines kind of sit quite high above the harmony, which is also another interesting aspect. So I would start by just making a plan on your manuscript paper of it's blank at the moment, but you need a clef, a time signature, mostly 4/4 in these things, and then a key signature. And in this case, it's in E flat. And so you would just pop that key signature in there, three flats. And then after that, you could decide whether you're going to go. I've got 2 bars of line here, I don't know if you can see that, but you might be able to fit 4 bars of line. Again, I would try and keep my transcription looking so that it reflects the phrasing of the music. So not have 3 bars in one line and then 5 bars in another, or 7 bars in another, and just try and keep it so visually. Once you've got it. Once you've got it written down, it looks like it works with the phrasing of the tune. The tune has 2 bars of E flat major 7 to start with, and then a minor 2-5-1, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, a bar each after that. So the phrasing is very much in 2, 4, and 8 bar units. So your transcription should reflect that. So moving on to the actual transcribing itself, once you've listened to this tune lots of times so that you're familiar with the material, I've got it playing on this ancient iPod thing here, old technology now, and something that you can reasonably easily go back and forth. You may want to also use programs where you can slow the track down. You can do that on YouTube. I think you can do it on things like Audacity. There are specific apps for transcribing, so that's all possible as well. But I've just got it on this old iPod that I can go back kind of 10 seconds at a time. So I'm just going to start with the first phrase. He plays through the turnaround and into the first phrase, but I'm going to look at the first phrase, which is just at the start of the first improvised chorus. Ba 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 ba. Okay, so that's the first phrase that I'm interested in. I'll go back a little bit more. 2, 5, 1. He kind of chokes that F a little bit. Da, 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 da. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're trying to get to grips with. Ba bo ba da da do da da, and that's the thing that you can learn to do. I think most people can do it quite naturally. They can just kind of slow things down like you're a kind of human tape recorder, because the tempo is moving. Ba bo do da. Yeah. So ba bo do da. 2. And try and get a sense of where 1 is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, bo, da, da. So very helpfully, that first note is on beat 1 of the chorus, which is extremely handy. So you've got da 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 da, ba, bo, da, da. Okay, and in terms of pitches, you got da 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 da, and you're starting on I think it's an F. Ba 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 ba. So you're going down and then up, and it's on an E flat major 7th chord. So diatonically, it turns out that it's F, E flat, F, G. Okay, having an instrument handy is good. A piano, if you've got a keyboard, to just kind of, one finger, just to find the notes, that's fine too. And then you need to think about the rhythm, and so that's the kind of process that I go through. I just kind of think of the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I try and sing the phrase in the same context. 2, 3, 4. Ba, ba, da, da. Okay, so the first note, ba, ba, da, da. I think he actually plays short, but then just check it. Just go back and check. He actually comes into it from a G above, and you can write that in too. But just to keep it simple, I'm going to take the F as my starting point. So then I just kind of count through. So when I'm tapping, I get to beat 2, and it's after beat 2 that the second note is. And you can do it with the offbeat as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you have one-handed on beat, one hand off the beat, you can kind of figure out which is which. So very quickly, I can see that the that part of the phrase is quavers. So I've got 1, 2, and 3, and ba, ba, da, da. Okay, so I would just write that down. I'm going to have the F short, then a quaver rest. So 1, and I've already made a mistake, so So I'll just rub that out. And then to finish off that bar, we've got a beat's rest. Ba, ba, da, da, 4 is blank. Okay, so very poorly written out. I don't know if you can see that. I put a staccato dot on the F, ba, ba, da, da, because it actually goes, ba, ba, da, da. But you can put more detail in. And then I would just carry on like that, phrase by phrase. It's such a great solo, this, you know, because it does give you bite-sized chunks, and there's also runs of kind of more bebop type language. But you know, it's very much on the changes. So I would carry on with that process and eventually piece together maybe an 8-bar section, and then maybe think about another 8 bars. You know, it can be quite tiring as well, so you might want to do a bit, go and do something else, come back to it the next day, whatever. And of course you can reverse engineer this as well. You can look at your transcription and then read it and just check that you've actually got it right, which is a good checking mechanism to just see if it comes off the page correctly. And so you go through that. But then what is the point of transcribing? So the point of transcribing is that you're trying to learn some authentic jazz language, and you could take that phrase ba ba da da and then use that ba ba da da ba ba da da ba ba da da, and so you could then just take that idea and use it as a motif to improvise on yourself. So then that would give you a connection with some authentic jazz language that you are then subsuming into your own kind of musical personality. So if I had so I mean, fluffing about there, but you see how I took that idea and then just took it round the changes. So that's kind of what you want to be able to do. So I'm turning that from something that was exclusively Jimmy Raney's into something that's more a mixture of how I can use that in terms of actually improvising. Sorry about that D flat on the F chord. I don't think I got away with that. But so that's the other side of the process, you know, and looking at your transcription, seeing what notes are being played on the chord, seeing how the rhythms work, because that rhythm is such a great rhythmic thing to work with, you know. And then you could take that rhythm and you could start displacing it, you know. So instead of having instead of having that 1, 2, 3, 4 you could try displacing it something like that, you know, just moving the rhythm around as well, because it's so strong, it's got such a kind of integrity to it. So and yeah, learn to play it, write it down, and then put the transcription away. Hopefully by the time you've transcribed it, it'll be under your fingers anyway on your instrument. So transcribe it as a record of the process and learning from the process of writing down and refining your notation skills and your oral skills, but then learn to play it, take individual phrases from it, of which in the solo there are so many great ideas, but also analysing how he connects one thing to other. So Hopefully that's helped, and we'll do more on transcribing another time.